Back during his first run for president, then candidate Donald Trump infamously joked with a crowd in Iowa that he could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and he wouldn't lose any voters. A new Politico survey that's out today, well, might prove that he was right. It found that no group is as resistant to a political scandal as self-described MAGA voters. When confronted with an array of objectively bad scenarios, from a candidate's DUI conviction or accepting bribes to domestic violence and sexual assault, higher proportions of MAGA voters said they would stick by Republican candidates despite that hypothetical scandal. Extraordinary numbers. Back with us, Governor John Kasich, Paul Rieckhoff, and Molly Jong-Fast. Governor Kasich, since you brought this up last segment, we'll start here with you. I mean, we're seeing it in real time. We have seen office holders, those seeking re-election, whether it be Ken Paxton, Mark Lamb, Max Miller, the list, Corey Mills, the list goes on and on. The voters are staying with them despite accusations of, in some cases, immoral, abhorrent, or perhaps downright criminal behavior.
I don't think we should just limit it to Republicans, to be honest with you, Jonathan. Look at what happened with Plattner in May, and look how many accusations came out. And then finally, after I don't know how many accusations, people, and particularly leaders in the Democratic Party, said we've had enough and we've got to go. But look how long that took. But look, I don't want to dodge what you're saying about Republicans either. In the old days, and I don't mean old days like, 50 years ago, a hint of a scandal or some accusation was enough to just get you to drop out, or, you were driven out. I mean, that's kind of the way it was. And it's faded because now we're more coarse, we're more polarized, we're willing to make excuse for people on our team because, oh, well, that's our team, they all do it. I mean, this is sort of a spiral, and at some point the public is going to have to say that they have enough of all this stuff. And I just don't know when it's going to change. I hope what was said earlier, that our young people are going to start demanding more of our elected officials or more of our leaders. I'm hopeful about that. But we kind of are where we are right now. And as far as I'm concerned, when people ask me, who are you going to vote for in an election? I say, it all depends on character. If I think if that person has good character, then they can get my vote. I don't really care that much about the philosophy. In some ways it matters, but I want to have somebody I can believe in, somebody I can trust. And if they have good character, I can deal with them. If they have bad character, forget it. And that's why I'm, so independent in my thinking about this stuff.
So, yeah, putting the poll back up, certainly there are Democrats who think this way, too, but the poll does suggest, as we just showed, it's more among Republicans and MAGA voters. And we should also note the governor mentioned Graham Plattner. Plattner did drop out. A lot of these Republicans are not doing so. So, Molly, what do you make of this? Is this a residue of the Trump era here, where it's a cult of personality? Yes, but more than that, just simply that the steadfast refusal to ever say, I'm sorry, I'm wrong, or I'm dropping out, that these politicians think they can just weather the storm.
Yeah, I mean, look, I want to say first that as much as I really do like Governor Kasich, and I think that this is a false equivalency to end all false equivalencies. Donald Trump is in the White House. We all know about his, numerous allegations and an adjudicated case. So I just think it's really unfair. And especially if you look at like Eric Swalwell, Al Franken, and Graham Plattner did, in fact, I mean, I'm not saying that those were people who had allegations, not the same level by any stretch of the imagination, but both resigned. And Graham Plattner did, in fact, resign when there was an allegation of rape. So I'm just saying these are not the same at all. And we still see Corey Mills, Max Miller, Ken Paxton all continue on their political careers. Look, when you have a cult of personality, when you say that certain things like sexual assault or allegations of sexual assault or rape are not discrediting or, not disqualifying, when you say that enough times, your voters, certainly some voters tend to, it's a kind of, if you think about it, it's sort of a cycle of backlash that we see. And I think it's a backlash to me, too, as someone who, is the daughter of a second wave feminist. beyond breaks my heart that we're in this moment. But I do think what we see with progress, and we always see this historically, is that, we get steps forward and steps backwards. And so this kind of refusal to take these things seriously, if it's your guy, is a kind of, sort of backlash, a kind of backlash cycle we often see when there's progress. So as much as it's very disconcerting to me, I think that's where we are.
So, Paul, obviously, I know you may use this as a case for people abandoning the parties to become more independents. But I think we also should note this shows just how partisan we are, where people's partisanship is so hardened, it's so sharp that they're willing to look the other way on some really dreadful allegations because they simply are going to always check R or D. And that's the end of the story.
I think that's true. I think it's also true that Trump has normalized a lack of character for many people within his own party and within this country. I worry about the impact on our young people, especially on our young men and boys, to have a commander in chief who normalizes the lack of character, the disgusting behavior that is commonplace. You got to call it like it is. I mean, he's the commander in chief. He's got the biggest platform in the world, and the way he carries himself is often dishonorable. And for some folks, they have accepted that as an acceptable command climate for their party. I hope both parties reject it. The Democrats definitely have their problems too. Most Americans are sick of both of them. This is why I've focused so much on supporting veterans and independent veterans that have integrity, that have honor, that can bring some ethics and independence to politics. I think that's why you see them doing well for Republicans and Democrats. Americans are starved for integrity. They're starved for character, and they're starved for leadership. And I think most people are not willing to accept sexual assaults, rapes, and the whole spectrum of things we've seen thrown at candidates in the last couple of years. They want to change. They want new voices, and they want people who they can count on to have integrity and just do the right thing and be role models for our children.
An important conversation and some disheartening poll numbers, to be sure. Governor John Kasich, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We really appreciate it. Paul and Molly, please stick around.